Hi, Jamin here with linkbuilderpro.co. Thanks very much for checking me out. You are looking at the off-page SEO Road Map video. So this is a really good place to start if you are maybe a startup, some small e-com business, maybe an agency that just needs insight into a client, or someone who just wants to do the work themselves but needs help, getting started and identifying a path of least resistance. So I think these videos are really helpful, or this service rather. Again, whether you actually use me to do the work, outsource the work to perhaps someone cheaper, or you want to do it yourself. I want to just go through what I provide in real time. So just going to share kind of a random example with you, assuming this was your site, right? So I've got a dog. I like skiing. I was looking at dog goggles randomly. So let's just look at the first site, Rec Specs, that pops up. This is a sponsored site, but still, I'm sure they've got a good keyword profile, right? So again, assuming this was your site, the service I'm essentially providing is, I'll throw you an Ahrefs here. This is a common SEO tool to see. Most people are using this and or SEMrush. I prefer Ahrefs personally. Looking again at Rec Specs, I always start with high-level metrics. So understanding DR, UR, your link to referring domain count, this ratio, and then traffic over time. These are all really important indicators of the health of your site, and then ultimately what's feasible from a link building campaign perspective, right? So going through this, DR and UR, the higher, and again, just to try and be efficient, talk through this with you here as an example, DR and UR, the higher those numbers are, the better, certainly. The greater the impact from a link building campaign. That being said, it's kind of a catch-22 because you also raise those numbers through building good links. So if you are starting out and you have a DR, UR of 1, right, I would still suggest you build links. Ultimately, the strategy we implement just changes, right? That's specifically really, again, when it comes to link building, why those numbers are important. Your link to referring domain count should be as close to a 1-to-1 as possible. Ultimately, you can't control organic links, although you can disavow them. So I only say that because Rec Specs, I'm sure, is a fairly large business. And so I would imagine that they are above board with their link building campaigns. That being said, their link to referring domain count is highly skewed, right? You want to think of the referring domain as the person and the link as the vote. And you don't want that same person voting for you over and over. It doesn't count, right? You want new people casting new votes, if you will, right? So again, closer to a 1-to-1. And I'm actually surprised to see that their ratio is so skewed. Keywords, that's just literally how many keywords you're currently ranking for, right? The more, the better. And then traffic. If you're trending down like they are on the last 6 months or perhaps last year, that's an indicator of either a poor link building campaign and or just something that needs to be corrected, right? So that's a red flag for me. If this was you as the client, I would want to look into that more before we started investing in new links. Paid search, that's not what we're doing specifically with link building, but that does give you an idea of your paid search metrics. And then ultimately where your traffic is coming from, right? Most businesses are going to want their traffic coming from the US. And ultimately, if you have a lot of traffic coming from India or overseas, that again is an indicator of more of a spammy jammy tactic, if you will, when it comes to building. Finally, and maybe most importantly, is just this visual, right? This is showing you your referring domains, more or less the links you're building, and then your traffic growth over time. You want those to more or less parallel each other and be going up and to the left, right? That is the easiest way to analyze a site and understand, how they're performing. This site, for instance, it would be my assumption that they've worked with a number of link builders. They've tried a number of different strategies because they're kind of up and down, right? They had this nice surge with this referring domain growth. And again, this is actually kind of discovering a red flag in real time. So you can see this blue and orange line spike together. That's great. But then that orange line, that traffic line, dips dramatically and basically goes back to where it was, if not below where it was, while the referring domain growth is kind of plateaued. This is a clear indicator of a bad link building campaign, right? They invested heavily in a lot of links that were produced fairly quickly. They saw that initial surge in traffic, but that traffic quickly dropped off, and they may very well be penalized to where you're going to see a delta like this as you move through time, right? Which is not what you want. You want, again, those going both up and to the left. So just kind of page one analysis, that's what I'm talking through when it pertains to your site specifically. And again, if I'm recognizing issues or indicators of a potential problem, then there would be additional steps built in or strategies taken if we were to pursue link building. From there, I like looking at your keyword profile. So if you're a new business and you don't have a keyword profile established already, I can look at maybe a top competitors. Ultimately, what's really most important to understand here is how to identify the path of least resistance. So by that, what I mean is how relevant is said keyword to you, right? Assuming you have a keyword profile. Again, if you don't, I'll speak to your competitors. I'll give you enough data to run with, if you will. So how relevant is said keyword to you? How many people are searching for said keyword per month? The more the better, of course. What's that KD score? The lower the better. It's proprietary to Ahrefs, but does a good job of giving you some sort of understanding of how many links you'll need to build to rank within page one. And then where are you currently positioned, right? No sense in investing in things you're already in position 1 for. You can nurture keywords, but ultimately, when I say low-hanging fruit, what I mean is things that are off of page one with a lot of upside and, an efficient investment, right? So, i.e. positions, let's say 10 through 30, minimum search volume of 1,000, and obviously relevant to you. That would be, a subset of a low-hanging fruit keyword cluster. So I would provide that insight for you as well. I would download all of this data also so you can reflect on it in the future. And essentially, I'd be highlighting the keywords that I would suggest you target moving forward. Lastly would be an outreach strategy. So, assuming we were going to go with a contextual link insert campaign, that's what we identified as the best strategy, I would essentially just coach you through what to look for, share a template with you from an email outreach perspective. Ultimately, this is very much a pay-to-play space, so you can be very direct and succinct in your outreach. Again, I provide that insight, customized to you with specific messaging, and then again, provide high-level filters that you could apply so that you are being as efficient as possible with the amount of sites that you are contacting. So you really get, pretty soup to nuts, comprehensive understanding of where you are, what's possible, and best next steps, again, as far as link building specifically is concerned. From there, ultimately, you can employ my service to actually run the campaign and or once more, take that and make the most of it. So thanks very much for checking me out. Feel free to email me with any questions you have. My email is at the bottom of my website.